Hi friends, and welcome to the Cozy Yellow Cottage. Today I hope you join me while Stanley and I convert these drab, ugly steps into a beautiful fall welcoming and make a delicious apple French toast breakfast casserole. So let's start with the recipe first. The recipe called for 1 loaf of the brioche bread, a half of a cup of brown sugar, 6 tablespoons of butter, 3 eggs, 1½ cups of milk, 2 apples, 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, half a teaspoon of ground cloves, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And the first thing that you do is melt 3 tablespoons of butter in a frying pan, and I am cutting up those apples into little chunks, and then I am going to add them to that sauteing butter, and we're going to cook them until they're nice and soft. I love fried apple anything. And then to that we're going to add 1/4 of a cup of the brown sugar, and then the 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon. You're going to continue to let that cook. So while that's cooking, we're going to add the eggs to the 1½ cups of milk and whisk that together. And you can see I don't have a whisk, so I am forking it. Fork it. And to that, you're going to add the ½ teaspoon of cloves, nutmeg, and the 1 teaspoon of vanilla. It smelled so good. The recipe didn't say whether to grease the pan or not, but I did spray a little PM on it just in case. And then you can see I added most of the bread, but I did have some left over. Then you're going to pour the egg mixture over top of the bread and try to saturate all of it. I did toss it around a bit to try to cover each piece. And then to that, you're going to add in your fried apples. Now I was doing this with one hand, it was hard. And you're going to spread them around on top. My stomach was growling making this. The house completely smelled like fall. With the remaining 3 tablespoons of butter and the remaining 1/4 cup of brown sugar, the recipe called to make a crumble. I didn't want to turn on my little mixer, so I tried to do it by hand. Not so great. And then we're going to put that in the oven at 375 for 40 minutes. So while that's cooking, I'm going to take you outside and we're going to try to get these front steps in order. So I have this wreath that I've had for a long time, and then I picked up some new plants, some new healthy, beautiful colored plants. Those are the cheater kind that you just pop in your urn. And I've got a few mums here, and then some pretty pansies, and then the pumpkins. Isn't that yellow pumpkin amazing? I got a couple bales of hay, and then of course some really thin, scrawny corn stalks. So this rug belongs to my husband, and it must stay there. We do get a lot of laughs at that. And then these little impatiens were the survivors of the summer. So I started by hanging the corn stalks up, and they're easy to hang because all I have to do is wire them to the jalousie windows. And then there's Stanley. Of course, he had to come out and help. First, he has to go sniff around everything. Anytime he's outside, bushes are moving. So I added the pre-potted plants to the urns. God, I felt like such a cheater. And then I put the basket of impatiens and a pumpkin up on that shelf. So I had these boxes or crates in the basement. I wanted to use them. So this one I just sat sideways. Have to be careful not to cover up the house address. I'll get in trouble for that. Of because my finger's in the way. And to that, I added one of those small little hay bales. And then this one is a taller Coca-Cola crate, so I put that long ways, and then I added the hay to that one as well. Then I topped them with a few pumpkins. There's Stanley. I love how his tail wags every time you get close to him. Then I just put the mums down on the steps. Now I wanted to change out their pots, but I decided just to add a plastic container underneath of them all. First, Stanley has to sniff everything. All right, I have these plastic pumpkins. We call those squirrel proof. I had intended on using only those out front this year, but I can never pass up pumpkins. I love pumpkins. And here it is all finished. I love that wreath. I thought about getting a new one, but why replace something that I already like? And then I'm also really happy that the door has a clean, fresh coat of paint. Those crates are great, but I'm definitely going to add some more pumpkins to this. I want some more green and maybe some funky gourds. And when the leaves come down, I love that part. The leaves are everywhere. I think it turned out pretty cute and definitely more welcoming than it was just an hour ago. And if you look to your right in the window, you'll see Charlotte. She is not happy that Stanley is out here and she's inside. The dogs are so good and they listen so well, but I don't trust when it's the two of them and only me. You never know. The mailman or the Amazon man shows up, I may be in trouble. So I tried to get Stanley to pose, but stubborn Stanley wasn't having it. However, Charlotte will do whatever you tell her, and here she is, just sitting here like a good girl. So guys, that is the front steps. Thank you for joining me as I decorated those, and let's go inside and check on that casserole. So guys, my house smelled crazy good. But I have to tell you that I did end up baking this for 1 hour. 40 minutes definitely wasn't enough. The bread was a little bit too soft. So 1 hour, perfect. And it was delicious. So guys, thank you so much. If you stayed for this whole video, thank you. I appreciate you. And I will see you in the next one.